There's a lot of information in this question, and I'm going to try and colour code it to be really clear. So it's all about Amir and his nuts and bolts in a box. We're going to do the nuts in blue and we'll do the bolts in red. So he has X nuts and Y bolts. He takes 6 of each of them out, which means he has X minus 6 nuts and he has Y minus 6 bolts. And we're told that they are now in the ratio of 1 to 2. So what that means is that the nuts X minus 6 to the bolts Y minus 6, that ratio is equal to 1 to 2. So what that's saying then is the Y, for every 1 nut, there is 2 bolts. So there's twice as many bolts as there are nuts. So this is 2 times bigger than this. So Y minus 6 is equal to 2 lots of X minus 6. The Y minus 6 is twice as big as the X minus 6. Which I could simplify that a little bit by expanding those brackets and then adding 6 to both sides. And then I'll park that equation there for a moment. We'll come back to that in a minute. Let's keep reading. Amir then takes 8 more nuts. So he had X minus 6, but he's just taken out another 8. So that means he's got X minus 14 left. He's also taken out 8 more bolts. So he had Y minus 6, he's just taken out another 8. So he's now got Y minus 14 bolts left. And the ratio now is 2 to 5. So the ratio of nuts to bolts is equal to 2 to 5. Now that 2 to 5 ratio is a bit more complicated to understand than that 1 to 2. So what I might do with that ratio is I'm just going to divide both sides by 2. Divide this by 2, divide this by 2. That way I'll get a ratio of 1 to 5 over 2. Exactly the same ratio, in a slightly more complicated form, but a bit easier to understand. Because what that's saying is for every 1 nut, there is 5 over 2, or 2.5 bolts. So this is 2.5 times bigger than this. So Y minus 14 is equal to 2.5, or 5 over 2, times the X minus 14. Again, we can expand those brackets and make this a bit simpler. 2.5 times 14 is 35, I think. Let me just double check that. 2.5 times, 35. Add the 14 to both sides. And there we go. So we've got these 2 equations. I can solve these 2 equations simultaneously to actually work out what X and Y are. So let's take this first equation here, where Y is equal to 2X minus 6, and the second equation here, where Y is equal to 2.5X minus 21. And because that's y here and that's y here, I can substitute that in, making them equal to one another. I'm going to subtract 2. Equations, I can work out what y is. So y is equal to 2 times 30 minus 6, which is 54. So the ratio x to y. X is 30, y is 54. We need to give our answer in its simplest form. So notice we can divide both sides of this ratio by 6 to get 5 to 9. And that is my final answer, 5 to 9.